All right, I'll stick my neck out and say that a blind belief in empirical knowledge can be dangerous. I think it can even lead to the demise of humans if we're not careful. But wait, are you not a scientist? Are you not supposed to believe in empirical knowledge? Yes, I am a scientist, and like any other scientist, I take pride in using the scientific method for my thinking and empirical evidence, which means that we rely on our five senses to understand the world and get closer to the truth. But what do I mean by that? And yes, I can hear the scientists banging their heads against the wall and screaming to the screens right now. But calm down, I have some tales under my sleeve, and I believe that as soon as you get to know what I'm thinking about right now, you will understand me and we will agree. Let's take a couple of steps back first to understand two super important concepts in philosophy, and in particular, philosophy of science: deductive reasoning and inductive reasoning. In deductive reasoning, we draw logical conclusions that are considered true if the premises are logically coherent. What do I mean by that? A famous example of deductive reasoning is all men are mortal. Socrates is a man. Therefore, Socrates is mortal. Still, maybe you see by now that the conclusion of deductive reasoning doesn't need to be correct. However, as long as it follows the premises coherently, it is considered to be a logical reasoning. We can take a more popular example. All movies are Japanese. Batman Forever is a movie. Therefore, Batman Forever is Japanese. So to avoid incorrect conclusions, we need to find correct premises. But how do we do that? Well, the answer to that is inductive reasoning. In inductive reasoning, we draw a conclusion based on observations. Things we can see, touch, hear, smell, or taste. So this is how inductive reasoning is connected to empiricism and empirical evidence. As scientists, for example, we predict the future based on past observation or experiences. An example of that is every day, without exception, the sun has set in the west. The conclusion would be that the sun will set in the west tomorrow as well. So as you can see, empiricism, that is, our knowledge based on observations and experience, is a pillar in our pursuit for knowledge. But sometimes history reminds us that an over-reliance on empirical evidence can lead to, let's say, confusions or even ignorance at some point. For example, we can take a story about Phoenician sailors about 600 BC. In this story, Phoenician sailors were ordered to sail around the continent of Africa, and while doing so, they experienced at some point that they had the sun on the north side. Of course, this was surprising since they, coming from the eastern Mediterranean parts, were used to having the sun on the south side. Another example can be taken from ancient Greece, where a sailor traveled to the northern part, to Thule, or in English it would be Thule, Thule, something like, let's say Thule, let's pronounce it like the Swedes. But I can tell you that these travelers, the Phoenicians and the Greek sailor, when they came home to their respective lands, they were met with disbelief. These people had their knowledge completely tethered to empirical facts, empirical data, things that they had experienced before, observed before. But let's explore a more modern story told by the great philosopher Bertrand Russell. He tells about a turkey before Christmas. The turkey found that on his first morning at the turkey farm, he was fed at 9 a.m. Being a good inductivist turkey, he did not jump into conclusions. He waited until he collected a large number of observations that he was fed at 9 a.m. and made these observations under a wide range of circumstances, on Wednesdays, on Thursdays, on cold days, on warm days. Each day, he added another observation statement to his list. Finally, he was satisfied that he had collected a number of observation statements to inductively infer that I am always fed at 9 a.m. However, on the morning of Christmas Eve, he was not fed, but instead had his throat cut. Why do I tell you these stories? These are cautionary stories to tell you about the limitations of inductive reasoning and empirical thinking alone. Life's course is unpredictable. House prices may not continuously rise, prosperity may not endure, and survival is never guaranteed. The danger lies in assuming that the future will mirror the past. We need to be cautious. No, he will not press the red button. He's never done it before. Or nah, let's just abuse our environment. I mean, we're fine right now, but I'm not going to end up on a negative note. There is an empowering twist to this whole thing. Knowing this is important. When you know about the pitfalls of pure 100% empirical thinking, once you know that the future doesn't necessarily need to mirror the past, you know how to cultivate resilience and adaptability. I still think that empiricism is of great value to understand our world, our realities, and to get closer to the truth, even though we never reach it maybe. But with this, I would just like to invite you to consider possibilities that we never experienced before. Anyway, why don't you surprise me with a little like below this video, or surprise me with a comment maybe? I will bring you more and better content in the future. So why don't you check these videos until then, and peace.